Welcome back to GB News Tonight. Now, here's a wee reminder of the moments that may well have sparked the Starmer-Trump Chagos Islands row.
I don't understand why America has not been more forthright in saying this is a bad idea.
I don't know that the president has spoken directly to the issue or as forcefully enough, to your point, but I would assume that he shares the same concern as you and I do about that.
It does indeed appear that following Nigel Farage's conversation with the US Speaker there, Johnson, Donald Trump is all of a sudden enraged by this surrender deal. Reports today are suggesting that the US could cut intelligence sharing if that deal does go ahead. But Donald Trump isn't the only American politician upset by this surrender.
Mr. Starmer, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, has decided that he wants to give the Chagos Islands, with our military base, to Mauritius. The only reason he's doing this is because he feels guilty because the United Nations has said that the United Kingdom should be ashamed of its history and ashamed that that it one time owned colonies. I'm sorry he feels guilty. He needs to go buy an emotional support pony.
Yeah, that was the US Senator John Kennedy there lambasting Keir Starmer on his Chagos surrender deal, suggesting he gets an emotional support pony. I'm joined now by the editor of the Sunday Telegraph, the excellent columnist Allister Heath, of course, as well as my panel. That's the former Tory Attorney General Sir Michael Ellis and the founder of Blue Labour, Lord Maurice Glassman. Allister, I should turn to you first. There's been such drama of the Chagos Islands for so long. They seem to have been at the 11th hour. Could there be a dramatic last-minute reprieve in the form of Donald Trump?
This interruption is brought to you by ExpressVPN and their New Year deal. New Year, new VPN. And a huge saving of up to 80% if you act now. You're busy planning how to get in shape, but the hackers are planning how to get into your accounts. ExpressVPN locks down your connection so you can start the year protecting your data. So scan the QR code or click the link in the description now.
Well, there could be, but I suspect it's not going to happen, tragically. I think this whole saga has been a complete disaster, a complete betrayal from beginning to end. I think it's probably gone too far now for it to be stopped. I think it's great that Trump has finally seen the light on this. I mean, it's astonishing, frankly, that he hadn't seen the light previously. I suspect it's all tied up with the Greenland issue and so on. The problem is now that he's backtracked to some degree, at least, on the Greenland issue, this other issue of Chagos may fall by the wayside also. But look, clearly, it's extremely bad news for America. It's extremely bad news for Britain. Now, I think Trump's been talking a lot of nonsense in recent days on a number of issues, including insulting us and threatening us. But I think on Chagos, he's 100% right. It's 100% right that the American president should say something about this because it involves the Americans, it involves the security of the West, and it involves an absolutely stupid sort of handing over of power to a country that's far too close to China for everybody's good.
Are we seeing here a complete change of the world order, the bureaucratic class of Keir Starmer surrendering, if you like, to international law, to compliance, and the ultra-nationalist Donald Trump says, I don't care about that, I want to put my country first. If only we had a leader like Donald Trump.
Well, Chagos, the surrender of Chagos clearly comes from what I would call a deranged attachment to an extreme form of international law, which is basically replacing replacing democracy and nation states, generally speaking, by the rule of unelected left-wing lawyers, radical activists, basically. I think that whole thing has been a complete disaster wherever it has been tried. It has eroded British democracy. It has led to all sorts of pathologies and problems. I think on this issue, Trump is finally belatedly telling the truth and saying the right thing. I think, generally speaking, I've been quite annoyed by Trump in recent days. I think he's done a lot of great things. For example, I think the way he bombed the Iranian nuclear sites was an incredible achievement. For example, he's been great on woke and on other issues, but I think he's been very bad on Greenland and threatening Britain with a trade war and stuff like that. That's just not right. But I think on Chagos, I hope he does more than just spout off, but unfortunately, I'm just not too confident. I think the Starmer juggernaut on this is sort of out of control.
Donald Trump, the Trump regime is now threatening to have a cessation of sharing of intelligence. This is the latest chapter in what appears to be a terminal decline in the special relationship under Sir Keir Starmer.
Yes, I mean, I don't really think there's a special relationship now between Britain and America. I think I like America. I think it's a great country. I think Britain and America have to be very close. Actually, I think Starmer is actually right in some respects, but to try and keep this going. But the problem is Starmer is a terrible Prime Minister and he's doing terrible things. Chagos is a complete disaster for the security of the West, for Britain's interests. It's also, by the way, smacks of extreme hypocrisy, because Starmer has rightly defended the right of Denmark and Greenland to determine their own affairs, but he has no interest in the rights of the people who live in the Chagos Islands, for example, to determine their own affairs. So there's huge double standards here. But I think this is a very important moment for Britain. I think, sadly, this whole saga has probably gone too far to be stopped.
So, Michael Ellis, as a former Attorney General, could I ask you, is there a legal way that Trump could torpedo this?
It is technically still possible. It hasn't gone. The bill has not gone through Parliament. Has not received royal assent. But as Alistair was saying, this is the 11th hour. It's the 59th minute of the 11th hour. It's really late in the day. I do wish the Americans had cottoned on to the seriousness of this Chagos Islands disaster earlier and put pressure on the British government. Starmer's policy on this has been a disaster of biblical proportions to British strategic interests. It also smacks of rampant hypocrisy. As Alistair was referring to, the Chagosians are completely disregarded by this government. And the same arguments have not been made for Greenland, and rightly so in Greenland's case. So here we see now a situation where the long-term strategic interests of the West are seriously misaffected, if you like, by this decision. Unless it can be reversed at the last moment, Mauritius, which frankly is an ally of China and where China has a very strong influence, it's the wrong thing at the wrong time for the wrong people.
Lord Maurice Glassman, not for the first time tonight, I'm going to ask you to try and defend what's been a widely perceived terrible decision by the Labour government.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to defend it because, I mean, I've got a strange story to tell. When I was at the inauguration last year, I received a very strong message from the new Trump administration that they opposed this. And I communicated that message, and then I got no, it's fine. I'm from the Trump administration too. So there's been a real incoherence in this. I was assured, because I really went through it, and I completely couldn't understand the deal, that this was fine with the United States, that they'd given it the okay. So this is the problem, Alistair, with arbitrary royal absolutism, is that there's changes of view. By the way, just to back up what Alistair said, I mean, this is based on a quite extreme ruling on an opinion. This is not binding international law.
It's advisory.
It's an interpretation of an advisory ruling. You're a lawyer. You get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There was absolutely no reason for us to do this beyond quite an extreme form. You know, I've long said to you, Martin, that I believe in the rule of law, not the rule of lawyers. This is an example of that, and I really think that there's still space and time to just say this was a mistaken move initiated by your government. I mean, this is
they only started
long-standing.
talking about it. They didn't actually do it. It's this lot that's done it. And the reality, we've got a lexocracy developing here. You know, you've heard of a meritocracy and an aristocracy. This is a rule by lawyers. And it's not a rule of law at all, because this is a legal fiction. This whole issue around Chagos has been an absolute legal fiction.
OK, gentlemen, we have to leave it there. Alister Heath, Michael Ellis, Lord Maurice Glassman, magnificent, the three of you, as ever. Thank you very much indeed. Now, coming